A new interview has come out with director David Gordon Green where he expresses that this final movie, Halloween Ends, was never supposed to be a final battle between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. Let's unpack all of that.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Hey everybody, what's up? KillJoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we're talking a little Halloween Ends, talking about a brand new interview with director David Gordon Green, who had some really fascinating comments about his latest entry in the franchise. Before we get into all of that though, if you guys can like this video and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. Now, before I even get into this video, I want to talk about a few things that I'm just not really liking in the Halloween fandom right now. I wasn't the biggest fan of Halloween Ends, and I really don't think that this was the best way to end this trilogy. But should we have a petition out there to redo the movie? No! This is art and it's subjective. This is something David Gordon Green wanted to do with this final entry in his trilogy, and he did it. And honestly, I respect him for it, even though I don't think this was the best direction that this trilogy could have went. This petition going on right now is just toxic and ridiculous, and I'm just not a big fan of it at all. I'm also not a big fan of the people who are threatening the people involved with this movie because they didn't like a movie. Listen, I will come on here and express my discourse about a film, and that's totally fine. I don't mean anything malicious by it whatsoever towards the people who liked it or the people involved with the film. It's just my opinion on some art. But don't come after the people who made it. For the record, there are a lot of things to love in Halloween Ends. I think some of the performances are very strong. The opening scene really got a rise out of me. And honestly, seeing Michael Myers die in such an over-the-top way at the ending was cool, even if it was just totally ripping off Christine. But once again, I do want to critique some of David Gordon Green's comments on the latest entry and why it was doomed to fail from the very beginning. In a brand new interview with Movie Maker, director David Gordon Green says, "Make you scratch your head because you know there's a path to destruction and it doesn't end with a guy in a mask. It's something dark, disturbing, and fascinating." So, first of all, I don't care for that one bit. No matter how dark these movies are, I feel like Halloween films are still fun to watch and enjoyable. So for David Gordon Green to say that he was inspired by something so awful like that is a real problem right now is just super distasteful to me. So David is really just not off to a good start here at all. I really find that comment distasteful. The interviewer asks David Gordon Green, "Halloween Ends could be anything you wanted, and you were like, let's just make it sexy." Green responded to this by saying, "We had to decide how we wanted to wrap up these characters. How do we want to make it not just a nice, neat bow on a franchise? Honestly, we never even considered making a Laurie and Michael movie." Not talking about that specific part of the comment. I do agree with David Gordon Green that I didn't want this to be wrapped up in a neat little bow where it's just the whole movie Michael and Laurie going back and forth, and then finally Laurie kills Michael. But I mean, that's also kind of the way Halloween Ends did end, and there was like no setup for it at all. Like I said in my review, the whole movie is Corey's story. It focuses on a brand new character we've never met before, and then the Michael and Laurie fight at the end of the film is just simply an afterthought. There's a very forced, overly emotional ending here that just totally is not earned at all because you don't set it up whatsoever. You threw all these storylines out the window to focus on something else and then still did that at the ending. I think this movie would have been better if they just completely lost that at the ending anyways. The ending to this was nice, neat, and with a bow on top of it, and that's why I think I didn't really like it, because it just wasn't simply earned. He continues with, "The concept that it should be a final showdown type brawl never even crossed our minds. I wanted to see where it would go. I wanted one to win, one to die, but we were always more ambitious with that." Okay, so right there, I mean, yes, he does finish it by saying we were always more ambitious than that, but how does it not cross your mind when you're talking about one winning and one dying? That is quite literally what you're thinking about. That's just a contradiction in those couple of sentences there. And also the marketing had to cover up what this movie was actually about, tricking its audience into thinking that it was the final showdown between Michael and Laurie. So maybe that would have been a better concept for your film. I don't know. I mean, just a crazy suggestion there. He continues saying, "So how did we want to go out? By doing what no one except us would do. Make a love story." Now, this is the most frustrating thing of all. Now listen, obviously I wanted some character development in this movie. I didn't want it to just be a 2-hour showdown between Laurie and Michael. That also would have sucked. But if I were to walk into Minions 3, Gru needs glasses, and then suddenly Jason Voorhees shows up and starts killing people, I'm also going to be disappointed. Maybe if they would have advertised it as a love story, this movie would be doing better at the box office right now too. David Gordon Green goes on to talk about how he's always wanted to do a love story, and for that I respect him as an artist. I'm glad that he got to do that here, but I just feel like it was misplaced. He also goes on to praise Season of the Witch. Rightly so, it's a great movie and I love it, but it was critically panned and was a disaster at the box office. It's weird that you would want to recreate that as a filmmaker considering that movie got panned, but there's also a major difference between Halloween Ends and Season of the Witch that no one's really talking about. I can't show it in this video because it'll get demonetized, but if you check out the link in the description, there's a link to the trailer of Season of the Witch, and it is very clearly something different. That is not the way they advertised Halloween Ends whatsoever, and I really think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like it. They very clearly advertised Season of the Witch as being something completely different, something totally out there. Michael Myers is not even referenced one time in the trailer. The Halloween Ends marketing focused on that one scene at the end of the movie, and I'm convinced the only reason it was put in the film in the first place was simply for the marketing. It seems like David Gordon Green didn't want to tell a gigantic story all about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and that's totally fine. If he didn't want to do that, I feel like Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends should have been anthology stories, maybe taking place in the same universe. Heck, maybe even in the same town of Haddonfield with some of the same characters. Maybe Laurie Strode is no longer a focal point. Maybe we have brand new characters who are dealing with the Season of the Witch masks, or maybe even in another one with some brand new entity that's stalking Haddonfield. I would have been totally fine with that if this wasn't a continuous story flowing through 3 movies. After reading this interview, which will be in the description of this video, I just cannot see how David Gordon Green wanted to make this movie. He clearly wanted to make it its own thing, and honestly, I do respect him for that. I respect that he wanted to do his own thing with this and then he ended up just doing it anyways. But I just wish that him and the marketing team hadn't tricked the fan base into checking this out. If they would have marketed it correctly, I would have checked it out and I'd probably think a lot higher of it if they had the balls to do something like this that wasn't just ripping off another John Carpenter movie. Like, imagine if these characters had nothing to do with this movie and it's just about a brand new character who's kind of going crazy in Haddonfield inspired by Michael Myers. It has to do with a brand new set of characters too. I probably would have liked it a lot better, but the biggest disappointment about this movie to me is that they throw away everything they set up in Kills in 2018 to focus on a brand new character. I know these are points you probably heard a million times right now, but they are certainly not mute, and you have to admit that even if you like this movie, it is very divisive in a weird direction for the franchise. And also, if it was original, I would totally be defending this movie right now, but it's literally just the Arnie Cunningham story from Christine, which David Gordon Green told us it was going to be that earlier this year. And once again, I'm fine with them not doing the Laurie versus Michael showdown if this was to be an anthology series. I mean, don't forget, Kills and Ends got announced after Halloween 2018 was so successful. I don't think they even planned on making this a whole trilogy until after that. Then they're like, oh crap, we gotta pump out 2 more movies. The audience back in the 80s maybe weren't ready for an anthology series like this, like how Halloween Season of the Witch tried to make the franchise, but I feel like today's audience would have been way more accepting of that, and I wish they kind of had some balls and had tried that in these later 2 movies. I once again want to end this video by saying if you liked Halloween Ends, all the power to you, but this is just me expressing my opinion. I'm not in no way trying to be malicious towards people who liked it or to the creatives behind this film. I respect that they did something different, but I am going to critique it because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What do you guys think about this David Gordon Green interview? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this brand new Halloween Ends video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Also, if you want to support this channel further, you can support me on Patreon or become a channel member by clicking that join button on my page. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.